So I was sitting there thinking of video ideas for you guys on this channel, and I just, was reading through some comments, and a lot of you guys were commenting stuff like, how cute I am, or maybe more stuff or so of like, who do you actually think the Richmond Football Club are going to select at pick 1 in the 2024 AFL draft? And it got me thinking that I've made all of these videos telling you guys the rumors and speculation on who Richmond will draft at pick 1, but I've never ever actually given you guys my, thoughts and opinions on, with every bit of knowledge I know and every, I think bit of feelings that I have towards these players. Who do I genuinely believe should go pick 1 to the Richmond Football Club in the 2024 draft? Now, before we do get into it, obviously there is still a decent amount of you guys who watch these videos who are not yet subscribed to the channel. So if you could do me a massive favor and leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel for latest sports content and news, and turn on those, post notification bell. And I guess we'll get into it with my thoughts and opinions on it all. And I think the best way to to go about all of this is actually by going over the possible candidates who I think the Richmond Football Club should select with the first overall pick, and then giving you guys my final thoughts on who we should take. And I think I'll start off with the guy who I think is 5th most likely to go at pick number 1, and that does happen to be Josh Smiley. Now, Josh Smiley is a 194 centimeter inside midfielder who has been compared to Patrick Cripps, and a lot of people say is the best player in this draft. It wasn't like so long ago, I think it was probably 2 months ago at this point, that Josh Smiley was actually said to be majorly on Richmond's radar to be their first overall selection. A lot of people thought they were going to go down that direction and have him with this pick, and unfortunately for him, he's just really fell down in the draft rankings and the draft projected order, all the way to, I think he's like number 7 or 8 now at the time of making this video. But I do have a feeling that Richmond really do think that Josh Smiley is a massive pick 1 contender, and at one stage did have him probably as their first overall pick. The thing is, now with the way I think the Tigers will go about their thinking, is they think that out of all 5 of the players I'm going to talk right now about, Josh Smiley is the most likely to fall to pick 6/7 that the Tigers will have in the 2024 AFL draft. Of course, it might go to 7 because of the Levi Ashcroft bid, which will surely come most likely in the top 3. So moving on from Josh Smiley, who I don't think will be pick 1, but definitely a tiny chance, we'll go to number 4 now on the most likely scale, in my opinion, and that is Harvey Langford from the Dandenong Stingrays and Mount Martha Football Club, I believe. 191 centimeter inside mid who can actually go down and play as a high half forward. We know that Harvey Langford just kept climbing and climbing up in the draft boards as the season went on, and is a massive Richmond fan himself, who I think will really put his, best foot forward to being the first overall pick. I don't actually think the Tigers will go there, and if I had the first overall pick, I wouldn't be selecting Harvey Langford, although I think if he's available at pick 6, I would for sure look at it. So if you move those 2 players aside, those are the 2 players who would be 4 and 5 on my list, who I don't think will go pick 1, but I think are a very big chance that the Tigers could look at with the 6th overall pick. And look, if some reason they just dominate in the last couple of weeks at like the combines and stuff and private trainings, whatever it might be, maybe they might change some minds at that pick 1. But the 3 most likely guys, I think the Tigers could go at pick 1, and I'm actually doing these guys now in order of who I want from least to most. And at the 3rd overall, that I think out of these guys, I probably want least, and I'm not saying he's the worst out of the 3. He's probably the best out of the 3, actually. But I think that Finn O'Sullivan would be my 3rd choice at going with the first overall pick to Richmond. The, inside midfielder who I would like to say isn't exactly the biggest disposal getter, but has probably the best disposal in the whole entire draft, nearly the most efficient who can also go down and score. He's an extremely clever, crafty player who I think the Tigers are really going to like, and we know there's been talks that they may look to try and trade up for pick 2. So if they do decide to go and do that, they might look at a guy like OSullivan, but it's really tough. I think that Carlton actually traded up to pick 3 to also try and draft him, and I think if North do stay at pick 2, there is a big chance they just go with OSullivan because he's best available. So we'll definitely have to wait and see how this, of course, does go. But with the top 2 guys, now I really wouldn't mind either who goes with the first overall pick, right? I think out of these 2 guys I'm going to talk about, if I had to say who Richmond would select at pick 1, I do think it would be Sam Lawler out of the Greater Western Victoria team. Again, he is a 187 centimetre inside midfielder who can go down forward. Probably by far the closest player I've ever seen at Dustin Martin in all my time of watching AFL. He not only is a lot like him, but he actually has a better defensive game than what Dusty did coming into this draft, and probably is more so like a Christian Petrarca type of player too. Again, he's got the offensive like Dusty, but a bit of the better defensive side like Christian Petrarca. Again, if he can get to what prime Dustin Martin's offense would be like, that would be the craziest thing ever. And I think that is the reality of situations of why Richmond will take him with the first overall pick, I believe. But if you were to genuinely ask me, who does my heart want with the first overall pick, it would probably be the second most likely guy, I think. And that's Jagger Smith. I mean, I don't know why, but I have been a big Jagger Smith fan ever since I watched this man rock up like back-to-back 40 disposal games. And the reality of this draft is Jagger Smith is not only the best ball winner in this draft, the best disposal getter, but he's the best disposal getter by, 100,000 meters. He collects the ball like it's me collecting discounts at KFC. This dude is absolutely insane when it comes to getting disposals. Really the closest player I've seen to Zach Butters in a draft since Butters was taken. He really is like that modern Zach Butters player who's, before Zach Butters, there weren't too many AFL players to ever be like Zach Butters before he was drafted. Of course, that really skinny inside midfielder that has extreme poise and just a really good ability to be able to get the disposal while being a pretty good goal kicker as well. Again, Zach Butters was one of the first that we kind of saw like his type of player. And now Nick Dacos, who was obviously a better player, but Nick Dacos is very similar of a skinny inside midfielder with like that body build. And now Jagger Smith looks like he's the next one up. But the reason Jagger Smith, who was a guy who was like ranked pick 1 probably last month, has fallen a couple is because even though he's a massive disposal getter, he didn't exactly do that great at the combine from what I know. And he's not the best with the disposal. Like, he could have 35 disposals and OSullivan might have 20, and they might have equal, equal positive disposals, equal efficient disposals. It's just that Jagger Smith, it's not that he butchers the ball, it's that his disposal just sometimes isn't that great or effective. Like, OSullivan would be much more likely to spot an open player, I should say, than what Jagger Smith is. And again, some issues around Jagger Smith's game is some say he cannot kick over 40 meters, which I think is a worry. But in saying that, when you get into the AFL, you tend to put on like a bulk muscle and bulk weight, and he might not be able to do it in his first year. But Jagger Smith, a guy who's probably under 70 kilos, which is insane to think, considering my fat ass is like 5 centimeters, 7 centimeters shorter than him or something, and I'm probably like 20 to 25 kilos heavier than him. Don't be surprised if Jagger Smith puts on like 3 to 6 kilos in his first off season with the Tigers, and then carries on to put like another 5 on in the next. I think that's how raw and slim this guy is. He will have a lot of work to do in the gym. But I just think, yeah, he's also, I don't think he's a Richmond fan. I heard some people say he was a Collingwood fan, but there's no one who wants to be drafted to Richmond more. He actually trained with Richmond in the off season, played with Richmond his whole entire junior career, I believe. and then went and played for Richmond in the VFL and really tried to put his hand up for number 1 pick to Richmond. This guy, even though some rumors say he's a Collingwood fan, wants to be nothing more than a Richmond player, it seems to be. So you got to admire and love that from a kid. And I just think it'd be really interesting and awesome to see how this goes. So my heart says Jagger Smith at pick 1, but my brain says Sam Lawler at pick 1. I think either of those guys I'd be happy with. Finn O'Sullivan I'd still be pretty nicely happy with. Harvey Langford and Josh Smiley are my very outside choices. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest sports content, sports news. Don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, IRL/Vlog channels, which will be getting linked in the description down below. And comment who you guys think will be the first overall pick in this year's draft. I'd very much like to know. But if you haven't already, as I said, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.